Now, as mentioned, one of the brands of SEB is Waxing the City, and they're popping up all over the place, as Tony mentioned. We have a special guest joining us in live online from Dothan, Alabama. Her name is Melinda Sykes. She owns a Waxing the City. In fact, she's moving beyond a one unit franchisee at this time. She's the founder of the Business Notebook, Credibility Cure, Alabama Nail Company, and, as mentioned, Waxing the City. She's an accomplished entrepreneur, without a doubt. She has many interests. So she really is focused on working to improve the knowledge gap that inhibits many executives from connecting to their diverse and ever-evolving workforce in a way that really creates positive change. Remember, we talked about that, being change agents. So before pursuing her entrepreneurial adventures, the Troy University MBA graduate honed her talents for a decade in procurement, helping to run a $500 million business. Then in 2017, Melinda birthed Waxing the City in Dothan, Alabama as her first entrepreneurial investment. Her impactful leadership and business acumen quickly rose the business to $1 million business in less than 4 years. Let's give our attention to Melinda.
Alrighty. Well, welcome. I am super excited to share with you guys today. It has definitely been a journey, but I'm excited to be on the panel and also be able to share amongst some amazing speakers, some great knowledge when it comes to franchise ownership. So let's get started. I'll be sharing a little bit about my background because I feel like a lot of people get into this space and are a little bit concerned that you need all of these skills or be super accomplished. But I think the secret sauce is that so many of us franchisees are so different, and that honestly is what makes us better overall. But that, your secret sauce is honestly just you, and what makes your journey a little bit different is your unique skills that you bring to the table. So I'll share a little bit about my career journey before Waxing the City and what brought me to Waxing the City. And then we'll get into entrepreneurship with Waxing the City and honestly how it's been a game changer for my life, my family, and also just personally and professionally. So we can get into that. All right. So like I mentioned, I am Melinda Sykes. I'm a franchisee owner of the Waxing the City in Dothan, Alabama. I was born in Japan, raised in Marietta, Georgia, and I've called Dothan home for the last 9 years or so. I actually ended up moving here with a job promotion while I was still in corporate America. So definitely not from Alabama, but I call it home, and it's been good so far. I currently sit on the board of several different specific nonprofits and salon management programs. And I mention that specifically because getting invested in your community as an owner is important and something that I think a lot of people should look into if you're going to be in this space. Is really getting involved in your community. So I sit on a couple of boards, some that I'm super, super passionate about personally, like the Exchange Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse and things like that I'm super passionate about. And honestly, ownership has given me the opportunity to be able to donate, passionately, and more importantly, be able to donate to my time and volunteer efforts as well. But I also sit on the salon and spa council as well that, pushes initiatives that are great for the salon industry, definitely in my location. And I specifically mention that because it's important to definitely be involved in the community that you serve. So several other things, but I think one of the reasons why I switched, from being in corporate America to ownership was to be able to have a little bit more time management and also financial freedom. So I'll speak on that too. So you can go to the next slide. All right, so let's get into it. So what I know for sure is I knew I loved leading people and honestly creating a space and environment that felt rewarding. So after I graduated college, I joined an engineering firm and worked there for 2 years. I was primarily in the procurement space during my career in corporate America. But after I'd say 10 years in corporate America, like many people, I was getting a little bit of burnout, and my job was demanding, but it was also really rewarding. but it was demanding nevertheless, and of my time. And then, I was taking different job promotions. So that piece was really rewarding, and being able to move very often and get that change of atmosphere. I loved it. And I loved the people that I worked with. But for me, I wanted to be able to financially support myself, but also have time freedom. And so I think with me moving to a smaller city that did not have a full body waxing studio, and I come from a city like Atlanta that there's a waxing studio on every corner, essentially. There was not one here. So it was almost like the prime opportunity to where personally I was looking for something, ownership specifically, that I could really figure out a schedule that fit for my lifestyle. And then two, an opportunity to bring something to a city that was not there. It was a model that I knew worked, because I had been waxing for many years. I knew the model worked. It just had not been brought to a market where I was living just yet. So I was actually having to drive about an hour and 30 minutes to the closest full body waxing studio. And honestly, it was like a light bulb moment. I had done that for about 2 years before I started researching different waxing franchises, and which one I really wanted to invest in, and use that as my vehicle to exit corporate America. So I researched Wax in the City in 2017 and ended up flying to Minneapolis, meeting with the team, and honestly getting to see the people that would be supporting me in this partnership, getting a good warm feeling that they were knowledgeable, they were forward thinking, that they were looking and following trends in the industry, and looking for the future. I felt comfortable in that space, and that it was a brand that had the willpower, the knowledge, and expertise to train me, to help me, and support me in this journey with me exiting corporate America. So after I left Minneapolis, I signed on with Wax in the City, did my whole franchise agreement, and ended up opening Wax in the City in November of 2017. And I always try not to sugarcoat what ownership looks like, because it is a journey for sure. It is a challenging one, but it is so rewarding. And just watching our progression from 2017 to date, has been one that is, it always, in hindsight's always 2020. And just looking at the growth year over year is exciting. It's and like Tony mentioned, it's building equity in your business. It is the monthly cash flow that you get. It is all of those things. So super exciting to have made that transition in 2017. But I also talk about acknowledging the gap. Right. So acknowledging the gap, and I mean that in the space of a lot of us get really concerned about going into ownership because we don't know everything. Right. So there's so much learning and building a business. But the two things that I would definitely say is finding supportive spaces, and following the franchise model. Right. So the franchise model is proven. Time and time again, there's several locations. This model works. It's a matter of following it until you're successful, and then having supportive groups that are pushing towards very similar goals as you are, and making sure that on the rough days, because there will be some, that you've got a supportive network of other franchisees, other business owners that look like you, that are ambitious like you are, to lift you up on those days, because it can be challenging for sure. So when I speak of that, a lot of hard work went into those first 2 or 3 years. But like Tony mentioned, 2021 was a great year for Wax in the City, and specifically for my location. It was our first $1 million year, and honestly set the benchmark for what we expect every year. And setting that benchmark of $1 million studio has given me the opportunity to employ 14 amazing, smart women and provide full benefits package, which for me, it's the impact piece for my community and also for my employees of being able to provide a full career for them versus just another job and just making another paycheck. We really try to create an environment that is supportive and one that they want to come to every single day. So 2021 was our benchmark, and we've hit that $1 million mark and actually been about 20% year over year ever since then. So that's been exciting and also really, really rewarding. In 2022, I launched the loan forgiveness program here with our local community college to really support the industry, because if people don't know, the cosmetology, aesthetics, manicurist roles, they're all a licensed role that's by the board of Alabama, and it can be extremely hard to recruit because a lot of people are not going into these trades much like they used to. So we created a loan forgiveness program, honestly, for two reasons. There's a lot of people that do not pursue college for whatever reason, and typically it can be financially. So what we do is we cover it. We pay their tuition fees, labs and books for them. And once they complete their 1-year degree, they will come work for Wax in the City for 12 consecutive months. And after then, they owe us nothing. So they can literally come out of school completely debt-free with a very good high-paying job with full benefits. And I think that is such a luxury for, young men and women that are 18, 19 years old, just figuring out their life, to be able to go to school and also have a job lined up immediately after college. So that is the impact piece that I love and I think is super rewarding as an owner. And it's been a luxury to have. And ideally, we'd love to have that forever. So we actually have our first student who is graduating in May, and she'll be joining us shortly after. That's our first person out of the program. So that's been rewarding and hopefully successful for future years. So speaking of that, I wanted to speak a little bit about my franchisee experience. So when we talk about being a franchisee, it's truly a partnership. Like you are in marriage with the brand. And so your hopes and future aspirations are completely partnered with hoping that they're moving in the same direction or in a positive direction. And I can definitely say that Wax in the City has done that. If they've come so far in the 5 years that I've been with them, but always moving with what our industry data and trends show us, which is what you can only hope for. And so what that looks like is just from assistance, from construction to opening, it's operating procedures there, roadmap to success, just absolute blueprints of what the business should look like, benchmarks. You're getting a whole network of people from marketing to sales to recruiting help, even other franchisees who have been in the network already for several years. They can share knowledge with you and access to best practices that can definitely help your business grow quicker and faster. And also just be able to help you overall of what that looks like of running the day-to-day and operational tools. That's what the beauty of a franchise model is versus going off on your own and creating your own brand or whatever. You're not going to get this out of the gates. And definitely that building the network is so instrumental, because you can speak with owners that have been in the business 10 or 15 years to owners that are still in construction phase. And that knowledge shared between the two is game changer for sure. If you can talk with someone who's running the exact same business as you are and get knowledge from them, to-dos and things not to do, that can really game change your business. So having that network is honestly been so fruitful for me. And honestly, when I talk about Wax in the City, I get pretty passionate about it because I can honestly say it's changed my life personally and professionally. And everything that I was hoping for going into it has came to fruition. So from the time freedom, me running $1 million business and me being able to be there, but not having to be there because I run a pretty tight ship. I will not sugarcoat that at all. I run a pretty tight ship, but I absolutely treasure my employees, and I know that that business does not run without them. But being able to have the time freedom to spend with my parents who are retired and travel with them, and also having the financial freedom that it's brought me to invest in other things is exactly what I went into the brand for. And to know that it's come to life, and honestly more than I could have ever imagined for us to be a top studio. I knew we would do well, but I did not know we would do this well, and continue to do so well. So it's just been a blessing overall. And I think more people should honestly look into the franchise model and business, and like they mentioned about these legacy plans, like there's so much more to it, for your family, and to be able to pass down these businesses and build the equity. It's game changer for people that look like me. And I just, I hope that forums like this really create the opportunity for that knowledge to be shared quicker and faster, and for it to be a good thing for specifically women, but definitely people that look like me as well. So I'm excited and thankful. Keys to my success, I share these, and I know that I think Tony mentioned this as well, is that they look for franchisees that are coachable. And it's the first thing that I had put on my slide, is I remain teachable and coachable for sure. There's a level of humility that you'll see in a lot of successful owners. And I think being teachable and coachable is a piece of that as well. I also hired people that align with my vision and goals. So if they are not a good fit, they typically, it's probably not a good fit to work for my business. If they're not aligned with my visions and goals, I just typically stay away from that, because it's going to deter the success of my business. So I leave that piece to, I interview for that piece pretty strongly, to make sure that they understand what as a team we are pushing for. I maintain a high level of transparency in my business, specifically around my numbers. I'm actually actively involved in the community for sure, invested in my business time and money. There's, no retail or no time I won't spend on investing in my business consistently. And I require a high level of accountability that I mentioned. And also, like I mentioned about the support groups with similar goals and aspirations. So I think when I talk to other successful franchisees, whether it's in the Wax in the City family or in any, Self Esteem Brands, it is one of the things that they mention is they're not scared to invest in their business. And they also have those support groups to help them around knowledge sharing and networking. So yeah, I'm excited to just share about Wax in the City, and quite honestly, just hope that more people, specifically women, like I mentioned, give it a good hard look and an opportunity to jump in this space, and honestly, let it change your family for the better for sure.